I was at a crossroads on where to go with this build. I finished up most of the hard stuff, all the fabrication stuff, and it was getting down to, should I just assemble the car, and check for like if it's gonna cool, the radiator's gonna cool, and put all the parts on, put the front windshield in, and do a real thorough test drive before I did body and paint. And I decided it's too much work to put it all together, put all the windows in it, doors, hoods, trunks, and then strip it all the way back down for body and paint. We are using the smallest unit from Restomod Air. While I'm figuring out where to put the evaporator, can we just take a moment to appreciate how cute this unit is? The firewall isn't flat, so the mounting isn't straightforward. Wire seems to make a good template material for designing the mounts. Instead of trying to execute both mounts at the same time, I make one mount to locate the object. From this fixed position, the other mount can be made. Before I make the second AC mount, the program needs to be interrupted so I can make a mount for the fuse panel. This is called a center finding ruler. This is just a beauty hole. The second AC mount was incorporated into the gas pedal mount that I already made. It won't budge. Great, moving on to the next thing. This is the bulkhead that the condenser lines pass through. Notice how the supplied template doesn't match the part. Always physically check everything. It's new tool time. Anybody use one of these? What the heck? Why not? The instructions say nothing about how far to pump it, so it's all just a big guess. It doesn't look as good as the advertisement photo, and I even used a magic gloves. Keep moving forward though. I need to finish up the roll cage. Actually, it's just going to be a roll bar, I think, now. The diagonals attach to the so-called trans tunnel, but this area is really thin and needs some reinforcement. These are the harness bar disconnects. Once a tack is done, the other side will lift. Just reheat while closing the gap. Chris, by far, is the best helper on the property. There are various other AC things, like the heater control valve, the ECU, and the dryer that need to be mounted. I think I show this tool every time, but it's a 22-degree countersink, which I use for deburring threaded holes. By using grease, this is how I transfer holes with something that's too soft to hammer on. And here, I'm welding. Just one more dry fit. The reason for the downward bend is the ECU has to be a little lower. I can't remember why. Time to address this mess. It's for the master cylinder where the rear brake line goes into the cabin area and the front brake lines go into the frunk area. Once it's welded in, it will be more difficult to service the master cylinder, but that's the cost of doing business. So there's all these holes I have to plug. I just welded in plates and then later plan to use seam sealer. The fresh air vents were deleted and replaced with these plates. I don't ever foresee any river crossings, so the drain plates were just welded in. Here I'm trying to make the cavity as small as possible for the pushrod suspension. So it all comes down, and then I find all the rust spots on the outside, grind it down, maybe have to do some patchwork on it, and then the car will be off to body and paint. The same guy that painted the Volkswagen. And I have a color picked out, but that could change at any moment on the outside of the car.